I read on Glassdoor, madam, this is not nice. I don't like it. The recruiter should not be merely used to just schedule your interviews, right?
Does laptops help? More often than not, a lot of candidates won't have an answer to that.
And the candidate is very well aware of that. When you're ghosting an organization, it's not like you'll come back to the organization next week and say, you know what, I want to join. I have actually known candidates who had 7 to 8 offers in hand while they're still interviewing.
Hi everyone, I'm Raj, founder of Reczee. Today we are launching our first podcast, Recruitment Unlocked, to brainstorm challenges around recruitment. In the process, we'll bring in some industry experts and learn from their experiences. Hope you enjoy this one. Today we have Harika, founder of Ari Consultants. She has been in the industry for over 2 decades. Hey Harika, welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey Raj, thank you. It's an honor to be on my first ever podcast. So really excited. And yes, I founded Ari Consultants this year. It's been going on my mind for a while, but a lot of factors drove me towards starting my own company. And it's an HR consultancy firm based out of Hyderabad. I've lived in Hyderabad throughout, but traveled across. So met a lot of like-minded, interesting people, and that's the network that really pushed me to start Ari. And Ari's goal and vision is to help startups, especially startups, scale and grow in the HR space. And I'm also helping a bunch of HR tech firms with whatever little I've learned and leveraging my experience there. So really happy and honored to be here.
Sounds great, Harika. Today we are going to talk about why decline. So why do candidates decline offer? Apart from like candidates' perspective of how things are going and how they are going to juggle with these offers, we are also going to talk about the perspective of the recruitment team, hiring managers, recruiters, agencies, and so on. Since you bring over 2 decades of experience, I think you would have a lot of pointers for our audience to help with. So yeah, let's set the context. What do you think? Why do candidates decline offer or say look for other better opportunities once they get an offer from one of the organizations?
So there are multiple factors, and I'll tell you, like the experience has been as a recruiter when I was hiring firsthand, then as a manager when my team used to go through like series of disappointments, then as a hiring manager, and now as as a consulting firm also when candidate declines, there is just a series of emotions that fly through, right? And over the years, and trust me, in the last 2 decades, also decline is something very common. Obviously, we used to call it by different names. It used to be rejections, offer shopping, and whatnot, right? So the whole concept stems from the fact that the candidate has options. So when you go, you go shop, right? You shop something for yourself. You look at various options, what suits best for you as an individual, and you pick. So similarly, offer shopping concept also is the candidate's way of checking whether this culture is aligned with my future or career prospects. How are the teammates? How is my new manager going to be? How is the organization doing financially and otherwise? So there are various concepts that come into play. So for me, when a lot of people around me get disappointed, I always try to put myself in the candidate's shoe. And why did they take that decision, right? Was the interview experience or the candidate experience, was there a slip up anywhere, or was it that the candidate got intimidated that, oh my god, I can't, it's really fast paced, I don't think I'll be able to manage. Majority of the time that does happen. So it's always important. It's easy to blacklist somebody. It's very easy to say you can never apply to us and break the conversation very abruptly. But that's not what I want to do. What I want to do with the candidate is to actually give them the window to come back and tell us why they did what they did. And that's how you always have that tie with the candidate. End of the day, you're just dealing with another human being who might have various reasons. So the only thing that bothers me, and I'll be very honest, Raj, when they offer shop to pitch their internal pay grade,
Right.
that's something that really bothers me. And that's I honestly tell them that you actually made someone else lose this job because you decided to take it up and then decline. So
Right.
don't do that. So those aspects are very important to drill down, train, make them understand. But yeah, this is my favorite topic, I'm sure, as you can see from for now. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things, lot of nuggets, lot of experiences around offer declines. But yeah, in a nutshell, this is what goes on, or I think that's one of the things that goes on with an offer decline.
Got it. Got it. So, to sort of segue into this, that okay, let's assume that the candidate has three offers, right? So,
Mhm.
what are some of the decision points? Is it only monetary reasons? Is it say culture, as you mentioned? How do they navigate through these, right? Either one is the decision, and another is also how do you sort of say no to those other two, or if at all, do you say no to that other two companies,
There's
right? So,
responding, right? Yeah.
as a candidate, what do you think is the ideal way to go about it?
So, from a candidate standpoint, first, like I would always ask, do you have an offer in hand already? And they say yes. Then I ask them, why are you even looking or interviewing for another job? So they give me very, very point blank answers saying, I'm looking for a better salary because I have financial responsibilities. I'm the only earning member in the family, or I cannot relocate to this location. So they say they promise you like the moon, right, when they make you an
Yeah.
offer, but that's not the reality of, obviously. So
Yeah.
location is one of the main constraints that I've seen. And so if a candidate is in a situation like this where they have three offers, lucky for him or her,
Yeah.
and I congratulate them. But yeah, it's always important to weigh your options. Money is not everything, again,
Yeah.
is what I tell people, that it's important to weigh your options. It's important to know what exactly is the contractual, what does the contract read, how is the firm, how is the culture, and what are your contractual obligations to that organization. And have you met your future manager, or have you met the team at all before making a decision like that? Otherwise, don't just, Achha, I don't like that. I just don't like the Glassdoor review that I read 2 minutes ago. Decide the culture of the organization. So a lot of them
Right.
do that. I read on Glassdoor, madam, this is not nice. I don't like what you did about the company culture. I said, oh, that would be one disgruntled employee or a
Right.
candidate.
Right.
Can't base a decision on that. But so if they have to decline, I would say, be honest, be upfront, let them know that you have decided to take up something else. You can do it via email also. There's no harm or foul in that, but it's very important to have that connect and the communication with the recruiter, because there is a lot of effort that goes into it. There's time, effort, and somebody else who really, really needs that job might have lost that opportunity, right? So just
Right.
think of those folks at least, and have the decency to reply,
Right.
communicate, and let them know. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. Makes sense. Thanks for sharing that perspective, Harika. And let's move towards the company side of things, right? What do you think the recruiters are probably dealing with when they are dealing with these offer shopping candidates, right? So, what do you think their mindset is? Of course, they are very sad because I know for sure that the amount of effort that they put in making sure that the interviews process is going well, and then also the amount of follow-ups, amount of sort of candidates that they have evaluated to reach there is tremendous, right? So what do you think the recruiter's dilemma here is, and like how do you navigate those as a recruiter?
So
Right.
I believe in a recruiter's gut. Go with your gut. They actually, in their first interaction, can or will know whether this candidate will come. And sometimes, they tell me also that I don't think this candidate is going to join, but still, obviously they have to keep the pipeline active and, have interviews going on because they have their own KPIs to address to, right? So
Right.
recruiter's gut is what I strongly believe, and it does impact them positively or negatively in some cases, because sometimes it's like, okay, I'm glad this didn't happen, I have another another opportunity to get the next best candidate for this role. um, It just delays the whole process for them. So wherein a role
Right.
could have been closed tomorrow, it might take another month to close. So it's double the recruiter's
Right.
effort. So that's one thing that bothers me again. But I think that's what keeps a recruiter going, also, right? So how
Right.
judge in your first conversation whether this candidate is going to, what is the pull factor? Why do they
Right.
want to join you? Do they really like you as a recruiter, and they,
Right.
you are representing the culture of the firm, or they're actually really keen on, taking up that?
Join.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. And do you think there is enough liquidity for them to operate on in case they have already reached at a stage where the candidate is going to join, say, tomorrow, and he or she declines?
Mm.
Do you think they have enough options for that next month to like again go back, follow the same process? Do you think that is a problem for the recruiters?
That should not be. If you have been on top of your game and always have backups, that's
Right.
first rule, is to have backups no matter what, and keep your backup warm. uh,
Right.
and maybe, sometimes I know interviewing is an effort for the hiring manager and the candidate also. So it's
Right.
important to keep them warm, and let them know that there could be another position coming up, or just hold on, we'll get back to you. Again, keep the conversation honest. Candidates are not somebody who'll question you. They know the fact, they know the reality, that there could be somebody out there who's interviewing, or whose application came in ahead of you, or whose application came through a referral.
Referral.
Obviously, you prioritize referrals because they know the culture of the firm better.
Right. Right.
So, it's always, every case, you need to have at least one to two backups, because dropouts will happen no matter what. Anything
It's
can
like a
change.
BAU, right?
Yeah,
Like you have to deal with this.
you
There's
have to
no
be. How do you deal with it? You presume that the candidate is going to decline and have your
right,
ready.
right. Makes sense. Makes sense. Sounds good. And like, what do you think? There are some of the like one is, of course, you mentioned that recruiter ghosting, right? You don't want to like just leave your current warm pipeline who have probably done 2, 3 rounds of interviews, and if you got one offer, probably you will just leave all of these candidates around. But you don't know when you will need to get back to these other candidates, right? So that is one point. Another is, what are some of these strategies that recruiters apply to ensure that the candidate who's offered either like delay the offer till the joining, or like what are some of the strategies that the recruiters follow, very tactical things if you can share. uh, I'm pretty sure that not all of those things would work because there's not one good answer to sort of solve this problem, but then what are some of the strategies that in the industry recruiters follow, right?
Delaying offer letter is something, like, as an individual, this is purely my opinion. I don't believe, and I usually want to give the offer out as soon as possible. Uh,
Right.
the, the best option is, obviously, candidates have, now, though, 2 months, 3 months notice period.
Right.
The candidate engagement is key. And
Right.
what we've done in the past, this is pre-COVID days, used to really, really help, is have the candidate come in for a lunch with the team. So they
That's great.
actually get a sense of, and over a meal, you can understand a lot about a person. Like, it could be with the manager once, or
Right.
with the head, and then with the team is very important. So actually lunch with the team through during a meeting or a stand up. More than that, I always prefer doing it over a meal. So
Right.
you also will break the ice, and generally talk about food. It's a good icebreaker.
Right.
And then go about understanding how the office atmosphere is, and what do you guys do, and how does your typical day look like. So those aspects are good. Offer acceptance gift also makes a lot of difference, though 90% of the time it's not. uh,
Does
you know
laptops help?
But laptops is one thing. Like, for immediate joiners, we actually used to ship laptops immediately. That, take the laptop, don't log in. We'll create your login later. Or, just keep the laptop. So sometimes that has also helped. So there are a lot of tips and tricks, but a meal with the future team,
Right.
and generally in person, because when you come for an interview, you are as such anxious, right? I don't think you can break the ice then. So once the
Right.
offer is given, accepted, inviting them over to show them the culture of the firm is very important. So that's one thing that actually I feel is has really helped. Other than
Right.
that, the gifting and there are a lot of firms that offer vouchers. You give it to you and your family, but all those are done and dusted and forgotten. So sometimes doesn't really help. Something
Right.
that you cherish and you remember by, and those help in a candidate engagement, and
Right.
that's one of the key things I feel should be done.
Got it. Got it. And as you talked about hiring managers, right? What do you think their mindset should be to navigate these? Either say the candidate was going to join tomorrow and they left the offer, or to ensure that if someone is at offer stage, to convert them. Is it everything that the recruiter has to do? Do you think there's a role to be played by a hiring manager in these aspects?
So it is actually the hiring manager whose team has the dependency. It's not the recruiter.
Right.
Recruiter's job is to find you the candidate and the future hire. But who's burning in this whole process is the hiring manager's team. So
Right.
the participation by the hiring manager is key, and that's what most hiring managers I've worked with, for them hiring is the most important thing that they want to do, especially when there is a burning requirement. They spend a lot of time and energy. That's why weekends are also spent in hiring, wherein they
Right.
say, okay, I focus on my business Monday to Friday. Weekend I will give dedicated time. I just need to get this hire, and that's it. We are done with it. So it's easier said than done, but it
Yeah.
is hiring manager's responsibility to make that convert into an employee.
Right.
It is not just the recruiter's job.
Right, right, right. Definitely. I think this is something that I have found in my sort of user research when I was doing last year. A lot of recruiters come back and say that the hiring managers are not as involved as they should be. Uh,
Mhm.
as simple as just reviewing resumes, right? Uh,
Mhm.
they see it as an activity that they have to delay it, or like it's not as quick as the recruiters would want them to. But yeah, of course, as you said, it's the hiring manager who's getting the heat if the candidate is not close. So, what are some of the other things that the hiring manager can do post offer? For example, say the offer is rolled out. What
Mhm.
are some of the things that the hiring manager should do from his or her side?
So I'll just add one thing about pre-offer.
Hmm.
So the hiring manager should equip the recruiter with enough material and understanding of what the role is all about, because the recruiter should not be merely used to just schedule your interviews, right? They
Right.
should be aware of what the team actually. So they are like your SMEs. They
Yeah.
need to be able to answer some of the questions that your candidate will ask. Okay, and the
Right.
candidate is always more comfortable asking these questions to a recruiter than when you set up that 30-minute engagement call with your hiring manager. They're like, oh, if I ask this before I join, what will the hiring manager think about me that I
About
don't
me.
know this? Huh? So there are
Right.
all these things going on in the candidate's mind. So it's important that you equip your recruiters with all the material that takes
Right.
you to spend a half an hour with the recruiter, maybe once in a while.
Right.
That's it. Instead of you trying to be an FAQ machine and answering all this for every candidate, equip your recruiter. That's what you pass on as a as a knowledge to them.
Right.
It
Right.
takes lesser time, and the
Right.
recruiters will be more productive if you do that.
Right.
And post offer, again, the engagement. What can you tell the person? See, I'm not saying scare the person. Oh my god, you'll have to work so many days for so many hours, and like literally tell them that this is what it takes to be in this organization. Don't scare them away, but at the
Right.
same time, be clear and open about what the work looks like, what the project looks like, and this is how the work life balance is, if there is. Be honest. Don't show them the moon and then expect them to get down to the reality from day one. Having that meal is very important, because the candidate also judges you. Okay, it's very important that more often than not, the hiring manager always feels they're coming to work for me.
Yeah.
So that attitude will not do you any good. It's important to you know get your team built in a certain way and have your own culture within the team that speaks to the candidate.
Right, right, right. Makes sense. Actually, that lunch, as you mentioned, I think I have seen a lot of organizations do that. But in a way, I have also seen companies who are not able to invest in that process in a way, right? They want to still see that the hiring manager is the most busiest person. We don't want to trouble them to have like a half an hour session after the offer is rolled out and so on, right? But
Yeah.
definitely, I think helps. Uh, in general, like what do you see in terms of, let's see the negative side of it, right? Now, let's say a candidate has ghosted or had sort of received a laptop and other things and still said on the last day that, okay, I'm joining some other organization. Uh, do you think some sort of blacklisting actually work? Do you think that is something that a recruiter or a company should do? And what can be some of the other ways to handle this negative scenario when the candidate doesn't join?
Yeah, I mean, if you've accepted the laptop and you're letting them know at like light in the last minute, then yes, the company may choose to not consider the candidate ever. Usually
Right,
they have a cool off period, but this particular candidate in that instant they can choose not to. So they have their in their applicant tracking system, they can leave a note that and the candidate is very well aware of that. When you're ghosting an organization, it's not like you'll come back to the organization next week and say, you know what, I want to join.
yeah,
So there's a very well thought of decision that was taken by you or your mentors or whoever in life.
right,
So they're aware of this, and I don't think the candidates ever come back or apply. At least I've not seen anybody come back and apply because they just it just leaves a bad taste in the recruiter and the hiring managers. In their
right.
view. So it's good to part ways, and that's it. End the conversation there. That's it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I forget the startup's name, but I think there is some startup who's uh, trying to sort of maintain this blacklist of candidates and then share it with companies. I'm forgetting if that's the exact thing. Do you think that is something that uh, that would work, or do you think something like that is good for candidates or for recruiters? Do you think? What do you think about that?
I mean, again, purely my opinion that uh, if they have turned down your offer, there could be
Hmm.
various reasons: compensation, culture, manager, interviewer, lot of
Right.
factors play, right?
Yeah.
So purely my opinion, I don't think a list should be calculated because you
Right.
don't know what the factor could be or what the reason could be. And
Right.
if you want to do it, yeah, there is an advantage where the other recruiters may maybe made aware. But
Right.
ours is a very vast country and we have a lot of
Yeah.
candidates. So
A lot
in
of
one
candidates too.
lot of candidates too. So how far are you going to willing to go to
Right.
just spend that time in finding another candidate or doing something else if you may. But
Right.
yeah, there could be various factors or reasons beyond us, right? Sometimes. So
Yeah. Makes
I
sense.
do
Actually,
find
it's
this better. Yeah.
it's not objective enough to say that this is a
Yeah.
candidate who has rejected, so he would reject it different company as well, right?
Again, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, makes sense. Let's come to the trends, right? So 2021 was a peak hiring season where it was sort of a candidates market, if I had to say that. Uh, so what are you seeing it now, right? Now that the market has recently corrected, probably it's going to go up from here. So how do you see this trend of people offer shopping? Is it going to reduce? It is going to increase? Anything around those lines?
So it has drastically reduced, if you ask me, in the last 1.5 years.
Yeah.
It's not like how it used to be earlier. I have actually known candidates who had 7 to 8 offers in hand while they're still interviewing, and
Nice.
that's just that's just crazy a number to even think about it, right? In my wildest dreams. So
Right.
I've seen that change. Obviously, the market also has gone to through its own ups and downs. So in the past few weeks, there have been a lot of jobs that are being posted. So hopefully there's a lot of supply and less demand in the
Right.
last 1 year. So as to say, so now it's like things should settle down hopefully. And I see like my LinkedIn wall, I see a lot of postings across, right? Especially like campus hiring completely went through a lull, and
Right.
that's picking up again. So it's good to see internship opportunities coming up, a lot of fresher hiring happening.
Right.
Uh, but still, it's going to take its own due course for the correction to happen. So
Right.
hoping by January we'll see a lot more job opportunities than we're seeing right now. So
Right.
maybe a quarter to things to show a little more light at the end of the tunnel. But it's looking up at
Got it.
least the past few weeks. Yes.
I think we missed one more perspective that we wanted to cover is what do you think in general recruitment agencies should do in such cases, right? A recruitment agency is the one who's going to give those warm leads to the companies, but they are involved throughout in the scheduling process, in the interviewing and evaluation process in a way. What do you think they should do to like navigate these scenarios of offer shopping or candidates not sticking to whatever uh, things that they had said before?
So yeah, and that's one of the most important things that I am realizing now, because I've always been on the other side. Now when I
Right,
come to this side, I realize that staffing agencies or recruitment agencies are not, again, equipped enough to have that conversation with the candidate.
right,
Acha, company achhi hai. Like, based on what are you saying that, right? It's important to give them. I'm not saying give scripts, but it's
right,
important for the agency to come and see the environment. Obviously, now since we're virtual, if not, at least give them enough material to understand and know about the company. And the more people a candidate hears it from, the more it gets ingrained that, okay, this is the firm I'd like to be associated with. And
right.
sometimes, as a staffing organization, you also have an added advantage. The candidate opens up. You know
Right.
what? After first round of interview, they'll say, "I maybe not," or "Let's see how it goes." But if there is any other organization, will you tell me? So these are all your tips, and these are
The
some of the
signals.
give you, yeah.
Yeah.
And you should be able to catch on these signals, and just cut it, you nip it at the butt, and you're not going to face that situation. But
Or at least notify the companies, right? That this
it's
is
good. It's
this is something that you are building a relationship with the company, right?
yeah,
So if you already know this, it's saving everyone's time along with the
correct.
candidate as well, right? So
Correct.
uh,
And the relation between a recruiter and a staffing agency has to be very, very thick. Okay. If that
right,
is, if you're just saying, okay, this is a raffle draw, I'm going to just keep putting lottery tickets like resumes, this is
right,
not a relationship that will sustain. You
right,
need to invest time in the staffing firm. The staffing firm has to invest time in the organization if you want the conversions to happen, and then take it from there. It's a lot of time and effort. That's why a lot of staffing firms expect exclusivity, which doesn't
right.
happen. The market moves, in a certain basis. But
Yeah.
still, so pick your staffing agencies, and pick the right ones. It's very important to get like those who don't send you 50 resumes just to keep your pipeline going. It's somebody who sends you the five with the five good ones. Stick
Right.
to this always. Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Sounds good, Harika. I think we have come to an end. So I am out of questions. Do you want to cover any more? Do you think there's anything that we can cover more?
I want to ask you this question, Raj. So it's always important to get. So you've been an interviewer yourself, right?
Yeah.
So as an interviewer, when you're doing your tech interview per se,
Right.
obviously in a tech interview, it's expected to evaluate the candidate on how well do you know your stuff and can you do the job at hand and everything. But you
Right.
always can ask that one thing that gives you, you know, you know that this is my candidate. What is that one question that you ask as an interviewer which helps you judge?
To be honest, in general, like the interviews that we had taken when early in my career, they were quite structured in a way where this is the problem statement, this is the expected solutions or second accepted solution kind of thing. But in general, as I started taking more hiring manager kind of interviews, one thing that I usually look for is ownership, right? Ownership and commitment is something that I sort of sometimes I directly ask them that, okay, portray an example which shows some ownership that you have taken in the past, something like that, right? And more often than not, a lot of candidates won't have an answer to that. I don't know why, right? They probably might have taken ownership, but they haven't prepared for this, right? They'll have to think around it. They'll have to come up with an example. In that process, they have sort of uh, told me a lot of things that I need to know about them, right? That, okay, this was something that you were supposed to do. This was probably the timeline. How good or how easily have you executed that task with ownership, right? It might require multiple stakeholders. It might require you to work extra out of your office, so on and so forth, right? That just brings a lot more understanding about that candidate, that is it a match for my role or not, right? But yeah, I think that is one thing that I look for. Not sure if I have any other uh, uh,
That
tip
is a
there.
very hot one. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
That little piece of tip should go to all the interviewers. It's important.
right,
It's
right.
just the HM's job to identify the right fit. It's everyone's job, right?
Right,
So
right.
it's
Usually,
important.
the thing is that not every, usually junior sort of folks are not able to ask this question primarily because they don't know what to expect, right? Once you start leading teams, once you start like having some expectations from your peers who are going to execute your tasks, that's when mostly these hiring manager calls help. That if the hiring manager is also doing a technical evaluation, then it's sort of defeating the purpose of hiring manager evaluation. Right?
I concur. I concur.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Harika, for your tips and tricks that you have shared and the perspectives. You have been into a lot of shoes in your experience. So thanks a lot for sharing the details. And yeah, how was your experience? How was your first podcast experience?
Oh, it was very, very interesting. And I keep listening to a lot of podcasts. I just didn't know that I would be on one. I'm looking forward to your next episodes and seeing who is there and what kind of information and tidbits we're going to get. So yeah, wish you all the very best. I'm really happy. As I said at the beginning, I'm honored to be on the first ever podcast of my life and your series. So looking forward to many more. All the very best.
Thanks a lot, Harika.